Hi there. Welcome to Relevation Talks, another episode where we will discuss the investment trends in the PropTech space. Today, I'm very happy to welcome Natasha Terinova, Director at Reach UK. Welcome to the grill, Natasha.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Idris, and good morning.
So, why don't we start with you explaining us actually what is your background, how did you came into PropTech, and also what's your passion outside of work?
Oh, goodness, Idris. I actually, in a way, I always think that, my route into PropTech is a little bit of an outlier because I don't have the traditional real estate experience. Um, I moved to the UK 17 years ago. Yes, that was that long. And I did my MBA. And after that, I started working in technology straight away. So I worked for something that is now called InsurTech, but back in 2008, it wasn't a word. And my first job was for Lloyd's of London to promote their first in the world e-commerce solution to arrange the
Okay.
insurance, which was written by Lloyd's Syndicate. So after that, I've moved into fintech, more into enterprise software. So I kind of was in software as a service from the very beginning of my career. And when I worked for fintech, one of my clients happened to be an electric scooter manufacturer. So in 2015, I was offered an opportunity to help them establish their presence in the UK. So way ahead of the innovation curve, there we were back in 2015, setting up Vimoto UK, which was aimed at helping the urban deliveries and last mile delivery providers to decarbonize their last mile by introducing the electric 1 to 5 cc equivalent vehicles to deliver goods. So
Huge topic.
yeah, so and since then, that was a very interesting experience of me being a founder for about 2 years. I've exited that business in 2017, and I did a lot of really interesting things in this mobility as a service space. Yeah, I've sat on the board of the companies. I helped raise money for global players in Mars, and also I ran sort of more bespoke corporate projects. So, for example, I ran the bioplastic project for one of the London airports. So, and
Oh,
then in 2019 or 2020, I've met with Valentina Shegoyan, who I knew actually from my time in fintech, who was setting up Reach UK. Yeah, I've joined the team back in March 2020. Um,
that's a journey. That's a journey. And
it is.
speaking of Reach, it's been almost 2 years now that we see this logo a bit everywhere. But can you clarify what's the positioning? What's the value proposition? What is the company doing?
No, absolutely. My pleasure. I think I can talk about it all day, unfortunately for you, Idris. So, Reach was set up in the US, and it was set up by the venture capital organization, which is called Second Century Ventures. And it's important to mention that SCV, which is abbreviation for Second Century Ventures,
Yes.
is a strategic investment fund arm of the National Association of Realtors in the US. And Second Century itself was set up back in 2008 by NAR by as their way of entering the second century of existence of this organization
Excellent.
by equipping the real estate market practitioners with technology. And one of our first investments, actually back in 2008, was DocuSign. And DocuSign came to us as a Series B company. But I quite like telling the story because it really showcases the way we look at technology. Because if you think about it, by no stretch of imagination, DocuSign is a prop tech, but yet it's
Absolutely.
a genuine use case within a real estate industry, and it really helps drive industry forward. So that's kind of the short backstory between the and the relationship between Reach and Second Century Ventures. So we're structurally Reach is structurally a part of Second Century Ventures, and it's its own growth accelerator, or I quite like calling it a scale-up program.
Yeah. Accelerator Scale-up Program, yeah. And the link with the NAR, so National Association of Realtors, can you also maybe clarify for the ones that don't know it?
Oh, absolutely. So, National Association of Realtors is a trade body. Is the biggest trade body in the world that has 1.5 million members. They are real estate market practitioners. It also has over 100 bilateral partners in 85 countries. So it really is a massive ecosystem of people who practice real estate.
Yeah.
And I think, what also makes us different from a traditional venture capital organization, that we are a single LP fund. So our single backer is the National Association of Realtors.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we touched upon the topic already a bit, but can you clarify I would say the key terms for SCV and for REACH? So what is the investment scope, the stage of maturity? You mentioned scale-ups, and also geographical scope. So what are you looking at?
Well, absolutely. So I quite like saying that we are geography agnostic, but REACH and Second Century Ventures are global organizations. So, for example, REACH is currently present in 4 regions. So, of course, we came from the US, and then in 2019 we started our international expansion, and we've launched REACH Australia back in 2019, and then in 2020 the expansion continued into Canada and then the UK. So we are geography agnostic, but what we need to see is that the company that applies to REACH to be a part of the program, that they're interested, that their key market, key growth market is the market is the geography where they apply. So, for example, in the current class, we have a company from France, we have a company from Spain, but they're looking at the UK as their key growth market, and typically a stepping stone to grow the scale further in geographical terms. So obviously, a lot of European startups look at the UK as a stepping stone to expand to the US, and we are perfectly placed to help them understand the differences and between the different markets. And obviously, our ecosystem also allows them to start making the headway into different markets.
Yeah, and I can only emphasize the fact that UK is really the sort of mecca of PropTech, because out of the 3,200 PropTech startups that exist in Europe, 900 are based in UK. So it's really a huge market. Okay, very clear. And stage of maturity, what are the minimum revenue that startups should have, more or less, to join you or to apply?
Yes. So in terms of REACH, we haven't got a very strict. We kind of do. So we want the company to be revenue generating, but we also say that we are stage agnostic, and the companies that apply to the program can be, anything from late seed to pre-IPO, and it really depends on their penetration to the real estate market. We either can help unlock the real estate market for the company, so technology from the adjacent sector, or we can help scale rapidly, because the program is all aimed. So we have a laser focus at providing opportunities to grow the top line. And, our companies say, the companies in our portfolio say that they've achieved 50% to X20 growth within the 9 months of the program. And this is typically what they would achieve in like 2 years if they wouldn't be the part of our ecosystem. So in terms of stage, it really is stage agnostic. But what we're going to be looking at is the match between the technology and our ecosystem, and how we can help really drive this company forward.
Yeah. Okay. Crystal clear. So you mentioned that what excites you is also all the tools that allow the sector to become more digital native, to become more tech powered, so to boosting efficiency, boosting operational excellence. But can you maybe explain a bit what investment teams excite you currently? What PropTech technology or use case really is in your scope for the moment?
Yeah, so we really do like, strong teams and technologies that has potential to serve multiple industries. As mentioned, we are brand agnostic, and we do favor investment in organization with the market traction and proof of market fit. What personally excites me currently, and of course, this is given my background. I've been working in sustainability. I've been a sustainability ambassador for a large networking group here in London, and I really like to see technology that improves environmental footprint. So it's and the other thing that I think was really accelerated by the pandemic is that the borders between prop tech and clean tech, or the retail tech, that are increasingly blurring, and it's incredibly interesting to see how me, for example, coming with a different background, and with my ecosystem of sort of clean tech or green tech or climate tech now, the startups, I look at a few of them and saying, well, you're clearly prop tech.
Yeah, you connect the dots.
Exactly. It's a very interesting, very, very interesting a time for the industry, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of the solutions that provide more impactful for the industry as a whole. I've been speaking a lot on the sort of net zero environment, and with the current legislation, also I think it's tremendously important to get the solutions that helps us not only to measure but improve the impact that we have on our planet.
Yeah, and you just open a door now that I cannot refuse to go to, which is the topic of regulation. What are your views on the coming regulations in the UK that will really foster innovations in real estate, or that could be used as a leverage to boost innovation adoption in the sector?
It's a good question. And here, sort of, there's one of our industry partners that we've started working with pretty much from day one from the moment when Reach UK was established, is Property Mark, and Property Mark is the bilateral partner of the National Association of Realtors. So we almost kind of inherited that relationship, because Property Mark saw the good work that and the value that Reach and Second Century Ventures provided to the wider industry. So it's important to note that at the moment, the real estate agents in the UK or the industry is not regulated. So in July 2018, there was an announcement by the government that to regulate estate agents and sort of estate and letting and sales agents. So it was based on the government consultations, which signaled that the home buying and selling process in the UK has to be improved, and that the sector needs to be regulated by the global standards. So this is something that we are closely looking at and looking at Property Mark to educate us and to educate the industry what would be the impacts, not only for the buyers and sellers, but for the technology providers. And here you can think within this process the huge effect on things like anti-money laundering, data, KYC, and other digital tools that are currently PropTech sector is providing. So that's number one. So that would be that would be very interesting to see that this regulation is not in place yet, but the industry is prepared to take this on. And the other thing, of course, is the 2050. I think it's across European actually regulation for the net zero.
Yeah,
that would
Green Deal.
Yeah, that is not only critical for the property sector, but for the adjacent sectors as well, like automotive, where I'm coming.
Absolutely, huge. But just to make sure we understand the first regulation coming into place, so it means that the idea is to protect the consumers, right?
It's protect the consumers, to professionalize the sector as well, because at the moment, because the sector is not regulated, for example, the membership in the organization like Property Mark is entirely voluntary. So what this regulation would mean that the estate agents would have to have certain qualification in order to provide services, that they would have to adhere to certain data processes. So that would be that would be a must, as opposed to the thing that they may want to do.
Yeah, okay, crystal clear, and that's certainly a positive thing coming, or at least it represents opportunities, right? Um,
Absolutely.
a question I would like to ask you is also, it's maybe actually the only a commercial question of today, but so what are your USPs? Why should founders apply to reach? You mentioned the tremendous growth that you have already been able to achieve for the portfolio companies, but why should I, as founder, apply to Reach?
Well, think about Reach. So Reach is not an isolated thing. Reach is a
Yeah.
part of a massive ecosystem which has, which is global, and it's not only we provide. So if you think about it, so when you apply to Reach, then we will work with you in a very much, in sort of individual way. So we're not positioning ourselves as, the startup bootcamp or, Y Combinator. We only onboard up to 10 companies per program per region. And we really make an effort to understand where this company, how we can help this company to grow. So not only they would have an incredible amount of tools given to them as the founders, as the part of the program, there's also Second Century Ventures, which is always in this ecosystem as a source of potential follow-on funding.
Yeah.
And if you start thinking about the ecosystem that we created, so obviously, we're working with trade bodies, but there's a number of industry partners. So we always, we work with our companies to make sure that, and to see how our ecosystem partners and industry partners adopt their solution. So it's a 9 months intensive that provides an incredible scope for growth. And there's also the Second Century Ventures, which tend to support the companies that went through Reach in, I think, almost every funding round. I think, the story, for example, with DocuSign is that we support them in every funding round up to the IPO.
Amazing. That's a great success story, of course. Okay, and I would like to maybe have more clarity or granularity on maybe on a couple of use cases, how you help portfolio companies, because generating 50% growth in 9 months is super exciting. So how does that practically work? Can you maybe share a bit of anecdotes on how you helped your founders facing different challenges or issues, or how what is your value add concretely?
So, so as I mentioned, the program has a highly bespoke character, and we really work with our founders over the duration of the program. And the number of touch points we have during this is absolutely incredible. And we also, one of the key things about the program is the strategy sessions that we have every month. Based on the strategy sessions, we cherry pick our mentors. For example, mentor community is one of the critical parts of the program. And in the UK, our mentor ecosystem is about 100 professionals. So there's targeted introductions. There's targeted introductions to mentors. We also create bespoke elements of the program that we don't typically market. We refer to them as expert panels. So, for example, we are going to be running one of those in, oh my God, it's next week.
Wow.
Which we have 20 experts from the build to rent sector who will be meeting with 6 of our companies for, to have an open conversation, to really bridge this gap between the industry and the technology, to make sure that our founders understand the pain points, that they articulate their technology well, that creates pilots. For example, another thing that we are part of UK Green Building Council. So we're part of the solutions library. We work with Tech London advocates to make sure that, that would be as another channel for our companies to reach the industry. And of course, we bring a very responsive and receptive industry partners who are looking at us to help them to select technology that really has a genuine use case within their organization. So there's so many ways, there's so many tools how we help the companies, and events are not the last one of them. So we, especially pre-COVID, we did position ourselves as the event and mentor-based program. So we do provide opportunities for our companies, not only at the closed door events, to communicate and to connect with the industry at scale, but we also work with the with events to make sure that the brand exposure is increased.
Yeah, excellent. Crystal clear. Thank you. Now, another crucial point is, of course, the due diligence on founders when you get all of these applications. So, can you clarify the personality traits that you're excited about, that you like to see in the founders' applications?
Absolutely. I think it's probably worth mentioning that when we opened the application for our very first program, when we opened the door to Reach UK, we received over 100 applications and we only have a class of 7. So it's a hugely competitive process. So one of the things that is super important for us is to see whether the founders can be coached or if the technology can be pivoted. So we see how the product is presented. We see whether the product and the founding team can really drive the adoption of their technology by the industry. So we really want founders who are, we like founding team who function well together. So it's not only about, it's all about the execution and the dynamics between the team. It's the responsiveness and sort of receptiveness of the founders itself to
feedback.
To sort of receive advice and to receive expert advice and spearhead their growth by listening. So it's all about the ability to answer, to ask open-ended questions, sort of the ability to listen. That is because the program is all about that. It's the expert panels are there to deepen the understanding of technology founders, of the industry, because you probably have seen it. Quite a lot of founders are not coming from the traditional real estate background. Someone had an experience and they think there's a problem in the market, and potentially this solution actually would have potential to scale. But they really do need to understand, and this is why Reach is there to educate sometimes, on the about the real estate.
Yeah, on the wall just there, we don't see it in the camera, but we have all the values, the company values of PropTech Lab, and humility is crucial, but also the ability to listen, because I think so many people are not able to listen well. So it's for me super satisfying that you also mentioned this. Listening is definitely super important. Great. So now let's speak about the future. What is your company vision for the next 5 years, or what is the next big phase for Reach UK?
So our big phase started in 2020 when we opened our doors. So now we've started the program in February. So we're now halfway through. The program typically lasts up to 9 months. So our current 7 absolutely amazing companies are graduating in November. So we are at the moment we're trying to create a lot of channels for us to engage with the broader ecosystem, because we are going to be soon announcing the application opening for the 2022 program. So, at this moment, we're really looking at the ways of how to engage effectively with the broader tech ecosystem, not exactly in the UK, but sort of on a global level. I mean, for 2021 program applications, is actually so diverse in terms of geography. So it's going to be massive for us to graduate our first class in 2021, and it's
that's the big milestone, of course,
to onboard the new companies for the 2022 program. So this is what we're all about at the moment.
Looking forward to that. And now, maybe a more personal question that I also like to ask is, can you tell us what was the most difficult time that you faced in your life so far, or the most challenging time, or maybe on the positive side, the most fulfilling achievements that you have done?
I think, sort of my personality, so, the challenge in time always brings an opportunity. And then, when you sort of work through the challenge, this is how you naturally really get the sense of achievement and accomplishment. Yeah. I did mention that we opened our doors in March 2020, and we were announced as the latest expansion territory of Reach by Second Century Ventures a week before the national lockdown in the UK.
Yeah.
So, we are well established outside. We were well established outside of the UK. We do know how to scale, but no one knew about us. And the news of our expansion got completely whitewashed in all of the pandemic news. And creating sort of the ecosystem, building the reputation behind the physically closed doors when it was challenging. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It was like I always laugh saying that we had a digital marathon by or Zoom marathon, if you want.
Yeah.
I think we've done not bad. I mean, you mentioned yourself that you can reach everywhere now. So whatever all of the initiatives. It didn't come unnoticed. We've got amazing industry partners. We've built up an incredible mentor community. We've established partnerships with the likes of Oxford University Future of Real Estate initiatives. We have fantastic relationship with the Property Mark. So this is sort of getting back to the legislation question we had. It's actually the abbreviation. This is ROPA. So we've really kind of got ourselves in digitally behind the
you did well.
So it was an interesting time, and it's hugely fulfilling because I mean, a little bit of a show off, but both Valentina and I were nominated for an Estate Gazette PropTech Awards. So it's so that's your challenging story that has ended up in fulfillment. I think it was really cool to get.
Exactly. That's exciting. And maybe the last question, which is more of a commercial content for us, but we're not here to do infomercial, absolutely not. But you decided to become a gold sponsor of Relevation. Can you tell us why?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's an easy one for me. So as a part of Reach, as I mentioned, I did say the word ecosystem probably one times too many, but we do work with investors. We're always looking for co-investors. So, and if you think about it, if, for example, if one of our companies have fundraising goals during the program, our investor list is static. This is like here and now, and this gives our companies an opportunity to be a part of an event which has such a different scope to anything else in the market. This is fundraising summit. This is their opportunity during 2 days to do something that we could, personally connect them to over a long period of time. So it's an opportunity for our companies to get in front of a lot of investors. And it's a very top league investor base as well. So we really wanted to be a part of it. And the other thing that I also wanted to say that I think digital format is going to be here to stay. And the fact that you've designed it as a digital event and the success that you had first year, and I think, maybe our stories are also similar in the way that you've actually, the first Relevation was very much in the thick of pandemic and probably lockdown number 2 or between lockdown number 2 and 3. Yeah. So digital is definitely here to stay. And we looking at this relationship also not a one-off, but as an opportunity to build something meaningful and long-term.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. Well, thanks a lot for that, and of course, all your portfolio companies will be welcome during the event as well. So for investors who wants to sign up for the future DocuSign, of course, have a look at the Reach partners and portfolio companies. Thanks for your time. I know you have a plane to catch in a few minutes, so I won't take you too much of your time. Thanks a lot for all the insights, and it was a pleasure speaking with you.
It was a pleasure, Idris. Thank you very much for having me.